This episode of the Operatory podcast is brought to you by HungryDino.com. In less than 3 minutes, you can find out what outdated policies, procedures, and technology you are using and how much it is costing you. Take the quick survey at HungryDino.com. Welcome to the Operatory podcast, the podcast about burying the dinosaurs in dentistry, moving past outdated technology and procedures to find a better way. With me today, as always, is the man providing the patient perspective, David Pryor. How are you doing, sir?
Brian Laskin, I'm doing great.
Good. Whoa, a little extra music there for us. And also with us today, I'm super excited from DA Rockstars, Ronda Holman. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Oh, you guys, thank you for having me. I love the Operatory. You guys, you make it light and entertaining and little bite-sized nuggets of information for even dental assistants to understand.
Even dental assistants, the total rock stars of the dental practice, the unsung hero. We've talked about it on the podcast before that I think dental assistants are they're the engine of the dental practice that kind of help just run things and totally key to the practice. And so I just would love to hear kind of what you're doing with DA Rockstars and it's just I'm just so excited about what you do and how you do it. And so could you explain to our audience kind of what you do with DA Rockstars?
Yes, absolutely. I like to describe dental assistants as the nucleus. So, we kind of have our fingers in all aspects of the practice. We're kind of like the liaison for the front desk and the hygiene department and the dentist. I started dental assisting 20 years ago, and I didn't have any mentors. I didn't have anyone to say, hey, maybe this is how you could word this better, or if you don't understand it, let me tell you in a different way. This is how I understand it so that you guys are on the same page with the dentist. And so I'm like, you know what? I like to talk. And, I found this podcast app that was for free. I'm like, well, what do I have to lose, right? And I told this to a couple people. I'm like, I don't know if anybody's listening, but I hope one person hears me, because there's not a lot of options for dental assistants at this time still. I mean, we have more resources than we had before, but there's not a lot of opportunity for us to learn and grow and share and connect. So I thought, hey, let's start a podcast and see what happens. And it's kind of taken off. We just were highlighting the dental assistants in the industry that are going above and beyond, that have been there, done that, and have better ways of sharing their information. Because a lot of dental assistants, we're kind of tell, show, do. And so I made it my mission to focus on details, the little things that are going to help these assistants connect the dots so that they can evolve and grow and take on more responsibilities in their practices.
Well, I love everything you said, and I think I identify a lot with not knowing if anybody's going to listen to your podcast and trying to change things a bit. But also you led with when you were talking about ways that you can help us dental assistants, you led with a different way of saying things, and I think communication is such a key part of the dental assisting position that I think is vastly overlooked. I think patients really look to the assistants for reassurance, for leading the care in a lot of ways, and I think that it just shows that that you're on point, because that's really what I think is a primary role of the dental assistant is being that link between communicating to patients. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. And a lot of times we speak their language. Unfortunately, dentists, you guys have such a higher education, and you kind of sound like Latin to a lot of the layman people. And so being able to have a strong, educated dental assistant to interpret things that you say clinically to a patient, I think is really important, because a lot of patients speak with numbers and not necessarily words and conditions. And so having that middleman is really important. And, here's the thing, Dr. Laskin, the minute I started evolving was the minute my dentist took me to CE. It was the whole idea that, hey, I'm going to invest in you intellectually because I think that you're a key player in our team, and I know that I can rely on you. And it was that this blossoming, like knowing, okay, I'm starting to understand more of what my role is. And I I wish more dentists were out there saying, hey, you know what? I need to look at my dental assistant through a different set of lenses and see their potential, and then realize that they are a wingman. You know, they can be there to help you and get your day to go smoother, and you can delegate more to them.
Yeah, I feel strongly that the best dental practices are driven by the team, right? The staff-driven practices, team-driven practices, where the front desk, the business people, the hygienists, and the assistants are basically doing the volume of communication with patients and coordinating care, and the dentist can focus just doing on the clinical care and basically calibrating with the team so that I think that the way patients judge our clinical quality, for right or wrong, is a couple different ways. One is the orderliness. If there's crap all over the office, you look like you don't know. You look like you're unclean, even though that may or may not be the case. And also the communication we have with our teams. If we trust our team members, if we invest in them, and we validate them with third-party endorsements and let them do a lot of the communicating for us, that's how that to a patient, it provides the confidence that you are an office that actually cares about quality. Does that ring true for you too?
Oh yeah, no chaos equals comfort, whether it's with the team members or the patients. I mean, it creates this great energy and security for a patient to know, hey, these people have it together. They know what they're doing. Like, I can expect the best care there because they all treat each other equally, and it flows. You know, it's just part of the ambiance. I mean, most patients want to gravitate towards that practice more so than a dictator type practice where, you know, people are timid or you don't feel like every team player is as qualified as they should be. And the whole idea is like, what is that, Zen? Is it Zen? It's there's that feng shui. That's the word, feng shui. So you can have that with people too.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a quick question for you. So how important do you think it is, or what do you think is the best way for doctors to foster that professional growth and development in the dental assistant?
As far as seeing, so here's what happens. A lot of times dentists will hire wrong. You know, they don't look for these key things that they're looking for in a dental assistant. And then they'll get frustrated because maybe this person doesn't carry the same office philosophy, or their experience and their skills isn't quite up to par. And then they just they get in this habit where they're like, oh, I'm okay with mediocre. And they just get used to it. But I think what the most important part is that whole, like Dr. Laskin said, the communication part. What do you want from me as your assistant? My job is to make your life easier. And then just opening that door of communication, say, hey, I want to learn more about these appliances, or I want to start implementing implants in the practice. Let's do it together. It's the whole idea is that when a dentist says to the dental assistant, this is for us, this is all our baby. We're all emotionally invested in the greater good of the practice. Let's do this together. And instead of, looking at it like this is my practice, this is our practice, it really helps to foster that pride with every team member, not just dental assistants. I don't know if I answered. I like to talk, so I think I answered the question.
And let me say back to you what I think I picked up out of it and see if you agree. I think that what you're saying is if you're fostering a team environment and opening communication amongst each other, that's going to bring you your best results.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Emotional investment. Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, one of the great challenges of my career has been to actually, I work with, as we talked about before, Rhonda, like there's just some supreme rock star assistants. And if you lead them correctly and actually let them fulfill their potential, it can be challenging in a dental setting to actually give people the room for growth that they deserve. Like, I've done CAD CAM training with assistants where they're teaching dentists how to prep teeth to, now running, multiple practices and that kind of thing. But a lot of the reason why I had to grow professionally was to allow for other people on the team to be able to grow. Because in a standard dental practice, let's face it, if there's a single dentist, two assistants, two hygienists, and two people at the business center. There's just not, if you're a total rock star assistant, you can do a lot of great there, but there's not a lot of professional development unless you're going to be investing. But then you certainly have to work in an office that's investing in new technologies and delegating those things to the assistant to maximize their performance. And I think that's really in the average practice, like in CAD/CAM, like with Cerex, for example. I see dentists wanting to use the machine and not delegating to the team members to do the designing and milling and all of that stuff. And you're really just choking the potential of a key team member there. And it's not good for your practice. It's not good for your assistant, and it's not good for the patients, frankly. I think if you look for like to your point, Rhonda, if you look for somebody if you're looking for somebody who can lead and take charge, but then you have to, the flip side of that is you have to be willing to let go of the vine, and delegate to assistants, because I see that happening a lot. Do you agree?
Oh yeah, and it's extremely hard to delegate, especially if that confidence isn't there. It's the whole idea, like nobody can do it the way I can do it. But here's the truth: with any team player, you can give them the tools and the resources, and they can learn to do it like you do it. And you foster that whole idea of like growth and education. And I trust you, I believe in you, and they're only going to accelerate. Nobody goes backwards usually if they're given these tools for success.
Well, yeah, like with podcasting, right? You have to suck at it for a while before you get good at it. We're probably still in the suck phase at the Operatory, but and the thing is that if you've done it for 10 years as a dentist, and then you have an assistant doing it, it's like, yes, it's going to be quicker and better if you step in and do it yourself day one. But a year from now, there's no reason why he or she can't do as good or better. I mean, there's so much stuff that gets done in my office that I delegated that at first it wasn't done nearly as well, but now it's doing much better. People are doing a much better job than I would at it, right?
Well, they have the ability to laser focus. You're a business owner, you're a clinician, like you guys are looking at all the parts and pieces, and to have little experts in each area, that's the way to do it.
Well, so what advice would you have? Because I think our audience is primarily made up of dentists. And they probably have a rock star dental assistant that's working with them today. What advice would you give them where they could go, okay, I'm going to either get out of their way or like what as a dental assistant, what do you wish the dentist community knew that that would help them take their practice and their assistants to the next level?
I want them to know that dental assistants are starting to think of it as a career instead of a job. We've had this is our dinosaur for the DAs, especially because the states are so varied as far as you can pull somebody off the street and train them. You can get somebody from a 2-year school. It's the idea that you can have standards and you can push your dental assistant in the right direction. The minute they realize, okay, there is room for growth, what do I got to do to get there? There's so many opportunities. Like Shannon Pace-Brinker has the ACA. I know that Kevin Henry's out there doing Ignite DA. Julie Varney, she does chairside calibration. There's OSAP. There's so many resources. And in fact, Dr. Laskin, this year is the first ever Dental Assistant National Conference for Excellence. Cool. Yeah, so it's huge. I mean, we were finally getting a little bit of the recognition I think that dental assistants have been looking for, something geared directly towards them. And it's very vetted so that it's just stuff that is a dental assistant's responsibility or, things that they could take on in their practice. So I'm super excited about it. It's Chicago 17th through the 19th at the Westin. And, if you want your dental assistant just to get that initial motivation, okay, hey, oh, look at that. I'm learning from my peers. This is how they do it. Oh, that looks like that makes sense. Why wasn't I doing that? Or wasted footsteps. I mean, they're covering like radiology, ergonomics, clinical products, inventory, and budget. I think a lot of dentists don't realize that these assistants are, they're getting to the place where they want to take on more. They want to be more of a team player. Instrument processing, care credit, talking to patients about finance, you don't have to know all of it, but to know a little bit of it, I think is really, it's the whole pie. You have to know a little bit of every piece so that you can be a well-rounded assistant. And that way, when you go to delegate to your assistant, you know that they know what, they're just going to A to B, A to B, A to B. They aren't, just they understand it on a more fundamental level so that when it comes time to delegating towards them, you know that they are ready to do it, to take it on.
That's great. And so where can our audience find out more about DA Rockstars, and if they are a dental assistant, or if maybe they want to refer a dental assistant in their practice to DA Rockstars to learn more? How should they get more information from you?
Oh, absolutely. DA Rockstars. We're on so many platforms at this point. I like to lead everybody through iTunes just because it's a little bit easier. We have Facebook pages, Instagram pages. We've teamed up with Dental Assistants Worldwide Facebook group, so it's vetted just for dental assistants. And then I've got Julie Varney at Dental Assistants Rock. We've kind of all just banded together because here's the problem is a lot of dental assistants don't know that these resources are here. And so I think it's kind of up to the dentist to, hey, you're sitting across the chair. You guys are working on the patient. I don't think there's a lot of resources for dental assistants, but I did hear you guys have a podcast. Maybe you should go check it out. And all we're doing is highlighting other assistants that are experts in whatever field that they're in, kind of like you guys, but on a little bit more of a detailed way of expressing how you can learn, how you can grow. These are fine-tuning aspects of all dental assistants. I've been doing this 20 years, and I learn something new every day. And I think it's important that we get highlighted a little bit more.
I like to say I forget something new every day.
Yeah. My husband has this great analogy. He says your brain is like an iceberg, and you can only fit so many penguins on that iceberg. And eventually, in order to get new penguins off, or to get new penguins on, you got to let a couple penguins slide off.
Yeah, I think my iceberg is melting a little bit every day, much like the the northern icebergs. I love what you're doing. It's fantastic. In Minneapolis, actually, we're going to be. I'll keep you abreast because we're going to be launching some continuing education initiatives, which I'm really excited about. But they're under wraps right now in the Minneapolis area. The Minneapolis area. Yeah. So
more of that. Yes.
So if you want, if you home base for assisting training, we do quite a bit at through my office, and we're going to actually formalize some continuing education courses. I'd love to have an assistant platform in there too. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I think as more dentists realize how much better their lives can be if they just simply delegate, they're going to want that rockstar dental assistant. They're not going to be able to settle for substandard anymore.
Totally agree. Well, thank you very much for being on the podcast. Again, Ronda Holman from DA Rockstars. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Rhonda.
Thank you, guys.
I also want to remind you to rate and review us wherever you're listening to this podcast. And if you have suggestions or comments, please visit theoperatory.com and drop us a line. Again, I'm Dr. Brian Laskin, host of The Operatory. Thanks for listening. I look forward to speaking with you next week.